So whenever you do such kind of a communication with any kind of server, whether it is a WhatsApp communication, whether it is a web server, email server, you try to collect the packets and understand the packets. If you see that when I'm in a previous slide, what is that first would happen DNS, and here is first would be happening ARP when I collected. So this is why I kept in with this, because to understand this. See, whatever the communication which I tried this accessing in a website before, if you go to that 192.168.19.1.1, this is a private IP addressing. That means that server is within our organization only. So whenever within the organization only, so always it all by the time it already sent. Whenever your system is starting in a network, system once starts generally it will ask that who are having other MAC addresses to communicate very easily. See, if I know that whomever my nearest devices, it would be easy to communicate them. Am I right? So in a group, we always wish whenever start the communication, we know each other by knowing your name and all. So once we know that, from next onwards, we directly is Mr. X, I'll send the communication immediately to Mr. X. If I don't know what exactly I do, I have to ask that who are Mr. X. So in similar way, here also who has 192.168.90.1. So tell to 90.2 so that I will try to connect. So that particular 90.1 is responded with his MAC address. This is what identification. So 0003FF 0 and 3D6447. This is the ID of that remote machine, which is basically I can understand. So it's a simple, anything you take it, any communication you do it, whether any remote connection, we can easily identify their MAC address and their IP address. So now that system, your system is understanding about what is the remote IP, MAC address and a remote IP address. From then onwards, because once it is identified, no, so even though somebody is forwarding message to him through him, it simply forwards the packets, or it simply drop the packet, because it's that IP address is not belongs to, that MAC address is not belongs to him. So that is why you understand. Then you see that after ARP there is a DNS protocol. So DNS protocol, which I typed it iclab_2003.cdac.com. So that's what it is responded 90.1. The local IP address is only hosting this particular IP. So I got this IP with respect to this name which I have given. Tomorrow you give www.microsoft.com, mighty.gov.in, cdac.in, set.arc.in, all IP addresses you can. This way the communication happens. So they will get an IP address. Through IP address, the communication would be forwarded further. So my point is there, entire communication in internet, either it is required IP address or MAC address. MAC address is basically within LAN itself, because it is only limited to peer-to-peer devices in the LAN. However, when one network to other network you want to communicate, it is required IP address. That IP address could be a local IP address or public IP address, private IP address or public IP address, which we will discuss more on 4th day and by understanding the firewalls and how firewalls communicates, how firewall controls. All these things we can understand within this Wireshark, and within the Wireshark is one tool is very good, because Wireshark is basically gives you in such a way that you can understand about all hexadecimal things into our decimal part, so that you can understand. But once you are confident with Wireshark, we need to use TCP dump, where it is a very light sized tool, where you can also easily understand once you have seen. So our aim is that to learn to understand various packets. By seeing an hexadecimal packet itself, we can say this is the TCP packet, this is the ID packet. Even though if you take intrusion detection system itself also do the same thing. Instead of that, we are understanding these packets within the available hexadecimal packets and able to understand and take decisions immediately. So that is where we need to work it out. So after ARP, DNS, TCP, that TCP three-way handshake, I said, no, that SYN packet, synchronization packet, it was sending with a sequence of 0. And these are all things which we discussed today in detail. But for understanding purpose only, now I am giving an example. So then the server was given with an acknowledgement with respect to the SYN and with adding 1 to that sequence, and it is saying that, and its own sequence 0 is giving it. So then again, client is talking to the server by giving another acknowledgement and sequence equal to 1 by adding is sequence 0 equal to sequence 1 and ACK1, because sequence 0 is the first packet and sequence 1 is second packet, and ACK1 is based on the sequence 0. So then only the page came, then page data is transferred, error came, and all the things happens. So this way, you need to understand a communication. This is what legitimate communication. If this communication is not happening in your network, if somebody is sending in a packet, instead of SYN packet, if he is sending an ACK packet as the first packet, and it is, your IDS understand, the first packet came from the client to the server, which is illegal. So immediately it gives a kind of a communication to the respective admin that there could be, this is a possible attack. It will say that. The same packet if you are also seeing, then you also can say the same. So that is where understanding which we required after completion of these entire demonstrations and today's demonstration, that is what we are expecting. All these videos would be available with you through e-learning mode, and you can access anytime and go through number of times and understand this concept.